When my family moved from Yemen to the US, they had one goal for me: to become a doctor or run my dad's deli. I had two cousins. One was already in med school and the other was in college on a pre-med track. And they always referenced their name, telling me, be like them, make us proud. When I got to college, I naturally majored in chemistry, but I got a C in Chem 101 and barely passed calculus. Actually, calculus, I only passed it because I got the professor's old exams from someone who had taken the class the semester before. By the end of sophomore year, it was very clear to me that this chemistry pre-med thing was not it for me. So I switched my major from chemistry to sociology. And I did not tell my parents. When I had to tell them, which was right before I graduated, that I switched my major, they were very disappointed, especially my dad. And I feel like that story is very common in immigrant or Muslim communities specifically. We have poured so many resources, attention, money, and after-school programming into getting our kids to become doctors, engineers, or lawyers, and forgot to develop people within the community to become storytellers, researchers, and people that can defend our place in the world. Recently, I emceed an Arab American event at my workplace, and they told me to announce the names of the guests of honor. None of them were Arabs. The people that were organizing the event were not Arabs or Muslims, and they did not know the difference between being a Muslim and being an Arab. There are movies, books, and studies that are written by non-Muslims about Muslims who do not fully understand what an experience of a Muslim is. So in this video, I want to talk about the problem of pushing our kids into financially and socially prestigious careers and the cost for not building a holistic community based on the kids' talent and interest. So first, what is the problem? And I think the problem starts with our narrow definition of what success is. And we have limited the categorization of success into social status or money and salary. This is why we're pushing our kids into careers that have either of those things. And this is not an accident. Our parents who came as immigrants to countries like the US or the UK or elsewhere, they came with scarcity of money. They wanted to make or create a stable life for themselves and for the generation that will come after them. They did not want their kids to struggle the same way that they struggled. But our challenges as Muslims have shifted, especially post 9/11. We no longer struggle with money. Muslims is one of the largest communities that donates in the United States. I mean, look at the zakah and where it goes. But also wherever the Muslim community decides to settle in whatever state, whatever county, there is a thriving aftermath. Where my family moved 20 years ago, there was maybe a few Muslim families. Today, most of the neighborhood have been bought by Muslims. The businesses has been transformed to Muslim-ran businesses, and then when you see it in Ramadan, Muslims are everywhere. It is a thriving community now. So while our parents or grandparents had the reactionary for that survival mode immigrant mentality to make sure that the next generation doesn't struggle socially in terms of prestige or financially in terms of what career they pick, our responsibility has shifted. Our responsibility is to make sure that the narrative is told like it is about Muslims. And before I get into the solutions, I want to talk about the cost of that survival mindset if we continue to pass it from generation to another. Number one, we will keep seeing Muslims misrepresented. Their image is altered in Hollywood, in books, and in movies, and everywhere that we see, even in the media. This is why it's so easy for Hollywood to create movies like Homeland or American Sniper, where they're depicting Muslims as terrorists or women oppressors. I mean, when the show Rami came on Hulu, it was a transformative event. There is an Arab who is a Muslim who also human and makes mistakes and all the, mind you, whether you like that show, whether you watch it or not, is a different story. But the aftermath of it was the interesting thing more than the thing itself. I remember this person that I was working with at the time came and told me about the thing that he related to the most about the show was that Muslims had sex too. I mean, out of everything that the show tried to debunk, this was the thing that you felt related to, which is problematic on one end because you are seeing Muslims as these sexual beings at this point, which is the thing that Edward Said was fighting against this whole career. On the other side though, this is the first step of seeing Muslims as human, and they're not these 2D characters that all they care about is killing people or oppressing women. And you will say, who still watches Hollywood movies, and what impact does movies really have on the real world? Donald Trump issued the Muslim ban in 2017 of Muslim majority countries being banned from the US. This was yesterday. When Hollywood spends 20 years depicting Muslims as violent women oppressors and not worthy of seeing them as human, then it becomes very easy for the American and world consciousness when they see them being killed. They don't grieve about their death. And this is the heaviest cost that we have endured as Muslims. Look at Afghanistan, Iraq, Gaza, and now Iran. And I know there's a difference between the politician and the average Joe who's going to his 9 to 5 every day in the morning. But the reshaping of consciousness about Muslims, it affects policy and it affects the reaction of people when it comes to changing those policies. Because that average Joe decides on who gets elected to be on the chair of the person that shapes the policy about Muslims. The narrative does not come out of the White House or even lives in the White House. The narrative lives at home around dinner tables, on the weekend when movies are being watched, and what they see on TV in their news channel. We are not on those dinner tables correcting the narrative. We are not writing the scripts for the movies. We are not writing the news script for the anchor. And we're not the news anchor themselves. We are bystanders because we have pushed most of our talent to medical school, engineering, or law. But the irony is, and this is point number 3, is that Islamic history contradicts this phenomenon that we are living by. Muslims, yes, they are known for their medicine, astronomy, and the sciences and STEM. We are. But we are also known for our humanities, for our poetry, for our history, for our sociology. I mean, Ibn Khaldun literally wrote the foundation of sociology in Arabic. Ibn Battuta, the greatest traveler in the world, and at the time, literally just traveled from country to country, from the one side of the earth to the other, so that he can record his experiences and what he saw about the different cultures that the Muslim empire or the Muslim dynasty was under. Other examples that I can mention is Fatima al-Fihri, the Muslim woman who started the first university as we know it today, was started by a Muslim woman. Ibn al-Haytham, the father of the camera that I'm shooting this video on, the basic optic framework for it was by Ibn al-Haytham. Without Ibn al-Haytham, I wouldn't be able to record YouTube videos. Now, is the solution to reverse the encouragement of kids from medicine, law, and engineering to humanities? No. We still need Muslim doctors. We still need engineers and lawyers. That is a fact. What we are lacking is balance. Ummatan wasata, a middle path nation. What we need is the redefining of success and elevating that pressure from our kids to become doctors. I mean, God forbid if a Pakistani brother whose son decides to study marketing, he will be sent back to Pakistan so that he can be recalibrated. What we need is to help our kids find the talent that they were born with. What Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created them that's different from anybody else, because we are, like, our minds is as different as our thumbprints. This doesn't mean we should push them into careers where they can't sustain themselves. No. We know that the Muslim who has the upper hand is better than the Muslim who is in the lower hand. It's better for you to be someone who has money and gives than someone who is struggling and asks or beg. This struggling artist type of mentality isn't for a Muslim. So if we see our kid gets a C in their chem class and fails calculus and is not able to get through biology, then maybe it is something else. And that something else might earn them a little bit less money. It might not be socially prestigious, but it might be something that they can use to change the community that they live in, and it might be the thing that will change the ummah over time. This is what I'm calling for. Imagine a Afghani or a Yemeni filmmaker who is in love with creating stories through film. And yes, he might not or she might not have access to Hollywood, but can start a YouTube channel where they tell mini documentaries about what it is of being a Muslim living in America or in the UK, Australia, or whatever the case is. Imagine a Muslim who has decided to study sociology and fell in love with the study of the effect of the external things that happens to young kids, teenagers in the Muslim community, how to combat anxiety, the spread of pornography, and all the other things that we are struggling with quietly and no one is talking about, not the imams especially. Imagine if we pushed more Muslim kids to become writers so that they can write children's books that speak to the experience of our children. And you might think, oh, but yeah, there are plenty of children's books that are written by Muslims. Not comparatively on the popularity, the quality, and the widespread of non-Muslim kids. And children's books are not attacking the Muslim community, yes, but what is shaping the imagination of young kids? I have a 4-year-old daughter. Her favorite books are not written by Muslim authors. There is a quality, there is a difference in topic, there is a lot of effort being poured into the more favored one. We need Muslim filmmakers to tell our stories and the stories of the countries that we come from. We need Muslim lawyers so that they can protect our civil rights before they are taken, not after. We need Muslim entrepreneurs to sustain the programming that we do in our local communities and the needs that we have socially to close the gap of Muslims who struggle. We need writers, we need historians, we need psychologists, we need everyone based on the gift that they were born with. And this is not luxury, this is also survival, but a different kind. A less reactionary kind, a more proactive and productive one. My parents were disappointed when I graduated with a sociology degree. They are proud now because just like my other engineering and doctor friends, I graduated, got a job, got married, have a kid. I have the same things that everyone else has. Maybe I'm not driving a BMW, maybe I'm not driving a Mercedes, but I have a vehicle and I have a place to live and life is going well. You don't need this materialism, plentiful way of life in order for someone else to tell you, good job, you're successful now. I often think about what my parents had to sacrifice in order for me to have the options that I have today. My dad left when he was 18 and worked 12-hour shifts for years before he brought us here. And my mom left everyone and everything she had in Yemen in order for us to go to better schools and have better opportunities in life. And while it's true, nothing that has been written for you can be avoided, and nothing that has not been written for you cannot be achieved, still, how do we direct our energy and talent? Towards what? What others say, or what we are born to do as a mission? And I think that's freedom. This is the definition of freedom. To do a thing, not for yourself, but for a greater cause, with the talent that you are born with. Salam.